are live! But once again, we're also on tape. We are in the bowels of Lee's music. It's beautiful, state-of-the-art studio too. Feeling good today. I'm feeling less burdened than usual. How are you feeling?
Better. The air's nice. It's nice September air. September 1st, the nicest month historically for weather and everything else in Kamloops. So it's nice, and it just seems a little more peaceful.
I know a lot of bad things are still happening, but it feels a little bit better. Also, a great thing happened last night. That's why instead of our logo to start the show, we have Greg Stewart up on the screen today. Did you watch his performance?
I did, and it was amazing. It was the first throw that set the new Paralympic record and won him the gold. Was it 16.75?
16.75. I called his coach, Dylan Armstrong, last night. He told me he kind of jumped off the couch when it happened, but I thought it was kind of cool. He said that was the plan, to throw a massive throw on throw one.
Yeah.
And it was for intimidation purposes.
Put the pressure on his competitors, right?
And Dylan kind of danced around it, but he said the word crumbled, and the other opposition just crumbled. And that's what happened. Nobody got close to him. It was a Paralympics record, a Canadian record, a personal best, and we kind of featured him leading up, and he had that mindset going.
Yeah, 16.75, considering the world record for the Olympics is 23.7, I think is quite amazing.
Dylan actually said he's so big, and that circle that they have to throw inside of is so small that Dylan was worried about, okay, how do we work his mechanics?
Right.
And obviously they worked around that by using his strength and his power. And didn't start training until 2017.
Yep.
4 years' time, he's the Paralympics champion.
What was his first throw? 12?
Well, he was in the 13s.
Yeah, and already up to almost 17. Incredible.
Yeah. So, great job, Greg. We also have a stacked show today, and great get by you today.
Yes, we have Dr. Scott Hughes will be speaking with us for a few minutes. He's a very busy orthopedic surgeon at Royal Inland Hospital. He's in a clinic this morning, and hopefully he can get out for 10 minutes and talk to us about the issues at RIH, which have been in our newspaper, on our news site, and in other medias across the province, with respect to canceled surgeries, with respect to stressed out staff leaving, with respect to all sorts of problems at RIH that some of the staff there who have contacted us say is not happening at the same level at other hospitals in Interior Health.
And you and I were talking in the parking lot again, and a lot of people contact you, but it's all off the record. So I want to find out what he thinks, what the surgeon thinks about why people don't want to go on the record. Are they worried for their jobs, which seems likely?
He's one of the few that have spoken to us on the record. A lot of people call us. Like I said, I get emails almost daily from people at RIH, and we get memos all the time that help inform our stories. So keep those memos coming in. We'll keep your confidence. That help us do the stories that maybe the powers that be don't want to be done.
We'll get into that more during your segment, Above the Folds. We're also going to have a power couple on today, a curling power couple. Matt Dunstone, Erin Pincott, life is good for them right now. We're going to meet them in the Tattle of Hastings. None of this is possible, though, without this fella right here. Herman Hothi and New Leaf Produce Market. Let's check out that commercial one more time. Eyes on the camera. Okay, buddy? Let's go. Marty Hastings here outside New Leaf Produce Market with my new best Herman. Look at the camera, pal. Stay on your feet. Herman is paying us to do this commercial, but he said this. He said, Marty, on one condition. I do not want to be in the commercial. And I said, Herman, that is complete and total hogwash. You will be in the commercial. Because I won't let him be sheepish. Not when all of his produce is edible art, and not when it's a hyper-local labor of love from his family farm, Heffley Farms. And not when he sources seasonal product from more than 40 of the best regional suppliers, like Newfeld Farms in Abbotsford, British Columbia. I had to see it for myself. Nothing like a good road trip. In you get, Herman. Mark, yeah, but let's go. Get me some sour keys, pal. No peeking, Herman. Help my goodness, Steve. Are these strawberries ever good?
You're quiet today, Herman. Want some corn?
Have a bite, Herm. Oh, and yes, it's true. A lot of people have asked me, they say, Marty, is he awkward on camera? I say, you're darn right he is. But this is a quality man who deals only in quality produce, and he has to be seen. Right, Herm? Okay, bud, last chance to make the catch. Let's go. Embarrassing.
You're going to hurt Herman.
This might be our most colorful haul. What do you see in there?
Well, yeah, I see for the first time ever, I see plums, and Mike Miltimore thought that these radishes were plums. But Mike's a musician, but
What are you smoking back there, Mike?
Yeah, the plums look good, and you do have a green apple today, I think, down there.
Winfield, I don't know what's with Winfield, but it's a hot spot. Gala apples, Macintosh apples, Bartlett pears, Italian prune plums, Heffley beets and carrots, peppers, and radish, BC grown. Took Herman down to New Leaf today and met some of the employees. There was an older fella outside who met the cardboard cutout. Okay, wakey, Herman. Time to get up. How's it going?
Yeah.
You know Herman?
Yeah.
He's the owner.
How you doing?
He's good. He's always good.
Yeah.
Have a good day.
Good. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Wonderful people down there. Get down to the store if you can. Also, they're not our only sponsor, and that's why we have Twin River Painting up on the screen. My boy, Brendan Krauser, he actually didn't even really need the business. This is how good of a guy Brendan Krauser is. He's just supporting the show. He's supporting his buddy, so that should tell you enough about him and Twin River Painting. If you need a paint job, call Twin River Painting. And they are the sponsor of the Tattle of Hastings, which is our next segment. Not too sure where this slide snuck in from. This is part of maybe Bonnie's personal collection here. It's a little too risque. Have you seen this one before?
It's going to make the ice melt down to the Kamloops Curling Club.
No, Matt and Erin did a curling cares calendar. It's all for a good cause there. He certainly had the stones to take this photo, and all for a good cause. Buy those curling cares calendars. But that's enough for now. Bonnie, can we get the next slideshow on so people aren't distracted? There we go. It's a golden age, I think, for Kamloops curling right now. I'm not saying the golden age.
It's a golden age.
It's a golden age, because
Yes.
I know the purists will probably email me and say, you don't remember the 1975 Robertson ring. But it really is a great time for Kamloops curling. What do you know about these two?
Well, I know that Erin Pincott is part of the very well-known Corinne Brown team, and Matt Dunstone is from. He lives in Kamloops, but he skips a team out of Regina. Is it?
Regina. So let's start with the Brown rink, though. These are the darlings of Kamloops and have been for a long time. 3 out of their 4 members are from here and grew up here. Corinne Brown, Erin Pincott, Sam Fisher, and Desiree Hawes lives in Peachland now. She's from the coast. But the reason I say it's a golden era is how often in our lifetimes are we going to have 2 defending provincial champions, both of whom this year are going after spots in the Beijing Olympics.
That's right.
He is a Winnipegger Kamloopsian who skips Reginians, but he's lived here. He works here.
He's a Kamloopsian, but he's just he's skipping the rink from his with his buddies back in the Prairie Province.
Life is good for Matt and Erin, and we talked to them in this interview right here.
Matt Dunstone, the sheriff, and Erin Pincott. What's your nickname, actually, Erin? I've never asked you that.
I don't think I have one really.
Not quite cool enough.
No.
Where does this year rank for you both potentially, and what it could be for your curling lives?
Yeah, I mean, chance to play for a spot at the Olympics is obviously what any athlete I think kind of dreams of. So I'd say it kind of ranks pretty high in my curling career so far. So yeah, looking forward to it.
I mean, we've had this team now for 3 years, or most of this team anyways, for 3 years. And when you're putting a team together, the 3.5 years just seem so far away, and yet here we are kind of 3-4 months out, and this is kind of the fun part of it all. We put in 3.5 years of work now, and just to kind of see where the chips fall, and at the end of the day, if we go to the Olympics, then dream come true. If not, we have lots to be proud of.
I was thinking it's got to be a pretty good time of life for you guys, and I made some notes here. So you're in your mid-20s. You're both defending provincial curling champions. Matt's a back-to-back Brier bronze medalist. 2 straight Scotties appearances for you, Erin. New homeowners. Matt's got a new job. He's a member of the KGCC. You got a great gig at Pacific Sport. Both of you are in with a shot of competing at the Beijing Olympics. Are you able to kind of soak that in, all that in right now, this stage of life?
No, I'm not, because my golf game's in shambles, Marty. The biggest piece of them all is missing.
Yeah.
It's when you put it like that, we're so fortunate, and that the support system, whether it be our friends, our family, our fans, like we have so much support around us, our employers, right? Like there's just so much support around us, and none of this is ever possible without them.
Kind of just made me even reflect about even last night. I went to my parents' house and my mom's hemming my curling pants. So just even little things like that, add up, like the little helpful things that, our support system has been able to do for us. So yeah, it truly all adds up. And thanks, Mom.
Actually, speaking of curling gear, I probably should have asked this question first because I know it's top of mind for everybody. Do we see the black leather hat this season come back and make another appearance?
You know what? That one is forever retired. It's as you can see here. As soon as we wore that hat, or I wore that hat, and won the slam. We had some people, a company in Winnipeg approach us and wanted that hat spot actually. So we do have a corporate sponsor now that has full rights to the hat. Maybe we'll have to get a leather version of the hat made up, just to kind of find that happy medium for all. But as of right now, we Team Dunstone has one hat and one hat only, and it's the one I'm wearing right here.
You must be gutted about that leather hat being retired.
I was just trying to think of where it is in the house. I think it's maybe I hid it somewhere. Who knows? It might never be found again.
Who are the other kind of prominent curling couples in Canada?
Jennifer Jones, Brent Lang, they're married.
Mike and Don McEwen.
Yeah.
Brett and Jocelyn Gallant / Peterman.
Mm-hmm. There's quite a few actually.
There's quite a few.
Yeah.
So who's the first couple of Canadian curling?
Ooh.
I'll let you answer that one.
Like resume wise?
Well, I don't know, just in general. I mean, and do you have a claim to the throne?
If it's resume wise,
Jones
then it's Jones and Lang.
Yeah, they're got a few titles under their belts for sure.
Yeah.
Any more photo shoots in store for you guys after your curling calendar?
That might have been a one-time thing for us.
The photo shoot idea has retired. It's in the same box as my leather hat.
Yeah.
You know what? We shouldn't say that. We should never say never.
I mean, for charity.
Absolutely. We would do it 100 times over again. But you
can't really top that. I mean, it's gonna be tough to top that for a while. You gotta let that one sit, I think.
That's just the thing. We got rid of all of our ideas, all the good ideas we had on the first photo shoot. Yeah. So I mean, we'd need a long time in between to think of a bunch of other ideas first.
Has anyone approached both of you to do like a commercial together or like a cereal box? You too.
Maybe Kamloops this week should. Or Kamloops last week. Maybe we should chat a little bit about doing a little commercial action.
Yeah, you'll probably have to pay us somehow.
Yeah. No, but maybe that that could be in the future. We're taking applications. We'll say that.
Thoughts on what it would be like to compete in the Olympics? What do you think it'd be like?
I don't know. It's that moment, and to have the gold medal at the trials and put on the Canadian jacket. That's why you play the game. And it's a really tough thing to think about how cool it would actually be. But I just feel really ready for it, really calm, and really confident, quite frankly, with the amount of effort and trust we have amongst this team. We really do believe that we can do this and know that we can. So it's a very exciting feeling. And, I don't know if I could describe to you what the feeling is actually like. But, if there was tears after a slam win, I'll guarantee there's tears after a trials win. Yeah,
I think there were a few tears after that slam win. Erin, I probably asked you the same question when you were like 16, but I'm basically asking the same one now.
Curious to see if you could dig that up and see in the archives if you did actually, ask us that back then. But yeah, similar to what Matt said, I don't think you fully, until you're in that moment, would probably be able to know exactly what it would feel like. I think, probably be a bit of an out-of-body experience, but obviously what any kind of kid who gets into sport ultimately dreams about doing. So
thanks, guys.
Marty, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
The whole qualification process this year for the Olympics is pretty convoluted, but for these two rinks, it's pretty simple. The top 3 women's teams and top 2 men's teams from the Ottawa event that's upcoming, they get into the Tim Hortons trials in Saskatoon, win that, and they're into the Olympics. So it's getting pretty close for these 2 rinks, all happening within the next couple of months. I'm not sure how you segue from curling to surgery, but you need a deft touch. You have to have a deft touch.
You have to have precision on the rink, and you have to have precision in the operating room.
Yeah, and our next guest certainly has that, and we'll meet him in Last Week This Week. Chris, before we bring on Dr. Scott Hughes, can you just give us some background on why we're having him on today?
Yes, Dr. Scott Hughes is a orthopedic surgeon at Royal Inland Hospital, and he contacted the newspaper a couple of weeks ago, and he just wanted to, he said that the public should know what's happening in a publicly funded hospital. Interior Health isn't bellowing out the windows about the problems at the hospital, and the problems are basically surgery cancellations, staffing stresses to the max, where nurses are leaving because they just can't handle the workloads. And he thought that it's time that the public knew more of what's going on there. They have a right to know. And he's one of the few doctors that I've spoken with who went on the record, said, I'll put my name to it. As we mentioned, we have a lot of people calling anonymously, and it lends a lot of credence, a lot of weight when you have your name behind it. And since he spoke with me, Dr. Hughes has spoken to a lot of other media provincially and locally. And he told me when I asked him to come on the show here to talk more about it, because we did 2 stories in the newspaper about it, I wrote, he said anything to get the message out there and keep the awareness up.
And why are the shortages happening?
Here's the thing, the shortages, the cancellations of the surgeries and the staffing shortages is an endemic thing. It's happening all the time. It's been amplified by, COVID patients, but also by recent shuffling of patients in wildfire evacuation zones. A lot of patients and staff, everyone from Merritt Hospital were moved to RAH. All around the interior, a lot of patients were moved to RAH because of evacuation orders and alerts. That added the stressors to cancellation surgeries and to the staffing. But as Dr. Hughes mentioned in the article that we did, and he'll mention today, it reached a peak. But when the COVID is gone and when the wildfires are gone, that problem still exists at RAH and needs to be addressed with resources and staff.
I know you get a lot of anonymous emails or people that want to remain anonymous and saying how dire things are.
Yeah.
So maybe we can ask Dr. Scott Hughes about that right now. Let's bring him in.
Okay, so I just explained why we're having you on, and we spoke a couple weeks ago for the article regarding the issues at RIH, and I think that's getting out there now to the public. How are things, has anything, I know it's only been 2 weeks, but has anything changed with respect to plans to fix it or any other issues at RIH?
It's a good question, Chris. And, and once again, I appreciate you guys sort of having this message sent out there. And as you stated just before I came on, I was listening to you, and you're exactly right about my intentions with coming out and putting my name behind it is just to make the public aware of the situation we're dealing with. Over the past 2 weeks, since I initially wrote that letter to you on the weekend and then had a conversation with you, there's certainly been a lot of chatter around the hospital. And I think in a promising way, I think, I've received quite a bit of support from the nurses that I've seen in the hospital, certainly from my fellow surgeons, about coming out and making this public and making people aware. Obviously, the media outlets, both within Kamloops and you're right, provincially as well, have taken the story as well and made it more of front page news, which is deserved. But then, to address your question specifically, unfortunately, I haven't heard anything from the upper management yet. It's been a little bit of radio silence with respect to that, and I haven't heard of implementation of solutions yet, either for the current crisis that we're in or the long-term, more chronic undersourcing and understaffing.
The underlying thing is that RAH has a reputation, deserved or not, that a lot of people don't want to go there because it's a very stressful place to work. The nurses leaving. What if I was to sit next to you in a pub and say, "What's it like to work at RAH right now?" What would your response be?
RIH is a pillar of this community, both from an employment standpoint and certainly from a healthcare standpoint. And, right now, it's difficult. It's difficult. It's as hard as it's been in the 9 years that I've been here. Obviously, with COVID and the wildfires, that, as you say, has sort of exaggerated the problem. But the problem has always had deep roots here. It's always, I always want to focus on, what we need and not necessarily comparing us to other facilities and what they have. And I think that's really important. But it's impossible to turn a blind eye to. In the past, I've heard quotes saying we're always treated as a bit of the ugly sister to other facilities in the interior, and funding seems to funnel one way, and that's not our way. But right now, I think the message for us is we have a community that needs this healthcare system to be improved, and we need funding and we need resources in order to do that. Working at RIH, I still, I'm not going anywhere. I still wanted to treat the people in our community. Although it's difficult, in the last couple of weeks, we see a little bit of rally. We see a little bit of collegiality between the nursing staff and the surgeons now, and certainly among the surgeons themselves. So hopefully we can right the ship, and you guys are doing a big part in that, making the public aware.
I thought it was interesting when you talk about culture and that maybe being a reason why some of these nurses aren't sticking around. How did that culture form, and how can you change it?
It's the chronic understaffing and under-resourcing here at Royal Inland, maybe compared to other sites, but certainly just in comparison to what we need here to serve our community appropriately. And once it's a bit of a snowball effect. Once that snowball starts to roll downhill, once, that culture starts to become inherent within the hospital, once the morale starts coming down, and I've used this analogy before, it truly is like a losing sports team. I've played sports my whole life, and I've been on teams that haven't done very well, and once the team starts losing, the morale gets down. It's harder to show up to work and put your time in and put as much effort in to your job. And I think for the nursing staff in particular, they started to get run down, and once again, it's a long-standing thing. Yeah. They were understaffed before COVID and before wildfires, and now just with all this on top of each other, it's become really, really difficult.
What can the average person who lives in Kamloops who wants to help the cause, what can they do?
Well, I think being aware of it's first and foremost, and like I said, the media outlets right now are doing a wonderful job making the public aware. So, as the average public citizen out there, this is their facility. It's a taxpayer's facility. They have every right to complain about wait times. They have every right to complain about canceled surgeries. We can write to our local MLAs. In the orthopedic program here, we have a program called Fast Track Care, that when a patient comes in and they're told they have to wait 2 years for their surgery, we have a simple barcode that they can scan on their phone, which will pre-populate a message to the MLA. Okay. We just need pressure. Yeah. We need pressure from the average citizen.
As I mentioned to someone else, when we do these stories, when you contact us or someone anonymously contacts us, or we do a story where we find out that there's an outbreak on it, it's not a gotcha thing we're trying to do. We're trying to inform people about that, which is why I encourage people, if there's something happening at the hospital that you think the public needs to know, and it's not a gotcha thing, but it's a public information service, for sure, contact the newspaper.
Scott, why do you think nurses are afraid to speak out? Even last night, I put it on Instagram that you're going to be joining us, and I got private messages from some friends, including a nurse, who don't want to go on the record. Are they scared they're going to lose their job? Why don't they want to talk to us on the record?
I think that's a big thing. I've had the conversations with nurses, and for them, they are afraid. They're afraid that they'll be reprimanded for coming out and talking about the situation. They're afraid that they'll be reprimanded for bringing up middle management and upper management. And they'll suffer consequences for simply putting their name behind something that they truly believe in. And that is not right. That is not right. That can't be the culture here. We have to change that. We have to have a culture that breeds collegiality and camaraderie amongst nursing staff, amongst allied health professionals, and amongst physicians. And, that is certainly part of that culture that I was referring to before when I talked to Chris. And hopefully, bit by bit, we can change that.
Well, two quick questions then. You put your name behind it, which was really, really good. Were you afraid of any repercussions, and have you had any repercussions for speaking out?
I wasn't afraid. I'm an independent physician who believes wholeheartedly in this community, and I think that voice and my name behind that voice is more important than any consequences I may suffer. I think if something did happen to me and I was reprimanded, and I think I'd have a lot of support from my colleagues and from the staff in the hospital. And I think hopefully from the public at large, all the patients that I've been able to treat that I have good relationships with.
Okay.
I can't speak specifically to whether I've been reprimanded yet. But no, I'm still here. I'm running a clinic as we speak right now. So I don't want this current media attention that this is garnering to be a flash in the pan. I hope my colleagues follow suit with what I've done. I hope this continues to attract attention. And like you said in the interlude there, Chris, this is a problem that predates COVID and predates the wildfires. This is a problem that exists here at Royal Inland and Kamloops and the chronic sort of under-resourcing that we've been exposed to. I care about treating our community, and I think the community has an extremely strong voice. It has a strong voice to attract business, to attract, upper management, and to attract hopefully the ears of the government, which hopefully in a more direct way can start making changes here and change the culture and the healthcare system.
All right.
Thanks for taking the time. We know you're busy, and we thank you for speaking out.
I really do appreciate you guys paying attention to this. It means a lot to me personally. So Thank you very much.
We'll keep in touch. Thank
Cheers.
you. I get pointed to 17 emails already in the last month I have from nurses. They have their names on them, but they can't go on the record because they're scared, and that's wrong. And that's the culture he's talking about.
Chris, let's go on and talk about politics in your next segment, which is Above the Folds.
September 20th is the election, so we've got 3 weeks until the vote. It's kind of got lost in the various crises. Afghanistan, the pullout there, the debacle that was, the wildfires here in BC, where people were worried about their homes, never mind voting for the candidate, and of course the ongoing fourth wave of COVID. Mm-hmm. So I thought we'd come back and check out what's happening, and it's interesting. Justin Trudeau called the election less than 2 years after the last one, hoping, like Horgan did in BC, to move his minority to a majority so he can do whatever he wants. And it's kind of backfired on him. The latest poll from Angus Reid and other pollsters has Erin O'Toole and the Conservatives slightly ahead of Justin Trudeau and the Liberals, and Jagmeet Singh and the NDP are rising in the polls as well. Whether that pans out on the 20th, we don't know. But it's looking like very dire situation for the Liberals right now if the election was held today.
So who's taking advantage of it most, do you think, out of these two?
I think, Erin O'Toole is, because there was a French leaders debate 2 days ago, and from all accounts, from what I read and what I heard, he did very well. And as did Jagmeet Singh. And apparently in Quebec, they're thinking the NDP, which got wiped out by the Bloc last time, might regain some of those seats so that he could end up holding the balance of power again. Jagmeet Singh might be the most powerful man in Canada after the election, because it will be a minority government. That's a guarantee. If it isn't, I'll eat my column that I wrote. I will.
You can eat all of the green stuff.
It's not going to be majority government. Right now, it looks like it'll be a minority government headed by one of these two men, and I'm thinking him. But that's going to be Jagmeet Singh's going to have the power. It's interesting. Another thing about this election that I thought we should talk about is it's getting really nasty, not among the politicians, but among the protesters, some of the electorate, especially back in Ontario. Justin Trudeau had to cancel at least 2 events because of just threatening.
I think there was a Langley issue too, but there's no surprise there.
My crazy sister lives in Langley, who believes that Donald Trump is the Messiah. Anyway, and it's really weird, and it's really disconcerting to see this weird U.S.-style politics where these protesters show up with their kids, and they're saying the most vile things to the Prime Minister. And it doesn't matter who the candidate is. It's a gross, ugly scene.
You asked Kathy McLeod about it too.
I did, yeah.
And she said she kind of noticed that in social media playing a big part. But that's not social media if it's in their face.
That's people in their face. And Erin O'Toole, he disavowed it. He said that's horrible. And I think they kicked out some people from his party because of that. And it's a lot of these are the People's Party of Canada people. You can vote for who you want, but they're they're really I guess the only word to say it, it's vile, it's gross, and it's like the words they had a post. They had a guy was holding it in Waterloo, Ontario. They had a poster of Justin Trudeau being hanged, and the guy had the hangman's hat on a platform at a rally. That's just disgusting.
Well, that's Facebook like almost every single day with a certain group of my friends. There's always something new and something like that.
It's crazy out there.
Before we move on to local politics, put your Foulds analytics hat on and quickly give me what you think each of these men's strengths and weaknesses are. What makes them formidable, and what's their downfall in your mind?
Well, Jagmeet Singh, his strength I think is his affability, his personality, and his platform so far. He wants to tax the ultra rich. He wants to forgive student debt. He wants to forgive student interest. The young vote, if they got out and vote, and they don't, but if they got out and vote, NDP would be much better shape. So I think he appeals to those people who really want the marginalized to be helped. Erin O'Toole's strength lies in people's disaffection of Justin Trudeau. I think people are getting tired of Trudeau. He does talk a lot, but if you notice, he doesn't say a lot. He has this...
Trudeau?
Yeah, he does. He does. He has this affectation that's annoying to people. The way he speaks, it's almost like he's theatric. And it might be a minor thing, but it can grate on people, when he doesn't answer questions. He's a master ask a question, the answer doesn't mesh with the answer. But I think his greatest strength, though, still is to say, when push comes to shove, people, for whatever reason, are afraid of the center-right parties. They're afraid of the devil they don't know, and he'll get a lot of votes from people who still like the fact that the Liberals are Canada's natural governing party. O'Toole's strength is the fact that he has come out big time to say, to show people he's not this scary social conservative. He's pro-choice. He's public health. He's a vouch for the public health system, and he's been quite moderate. And I think he's had the best campaign so far, in that he's dispelled all these fears that other parties are trying to put on the Conservatives.
He got the biggest picture on our screen. I'm sure we're going to have people, oh, you guys are pro-Conservative. That's just how PowerPoint did it. Okay, that's the automatic setup.
I'll remind you, as I don't think journalists should vote, and I have not voted since '92, and people may say, oh, that's your duty. No, it isn't. When you're a reporter, you shouldn't vote, but that's just my opinion.
Okay, what's your opinion on the local scene?
Local scene, it's interesting because with this whole COVID thing and with lack of resources, talk about resources in the newsroom and other news, there's not a lot of in-depth issues. We are running great full-page profiles of all the candidates. We have 6 candidates in Kamloops, and 5 parties and 1 independent. And so far, I mean, who knows who's going to win? It's basically, we think it's going to be between the Conservative candidate, Frank Caputo, as his party is the incumbent party, Catherine McLeod, and the New Democrat Bill Sundu, who's really out there. He's really active out there, and he did really well in 2015. So I think it's going to be between the Conservatives and the NDP. Jesse McCormick is a newcomer. He lives in Sun Peaks, I think. His wife is a doctor at RH. They're recent here. They moved here within the last 2 years from Ontario. He's not a parachute candidate. He lives in the region, but he is new to the town. But he's been all over the place on social media. He's been all over the place, visiting a lot of places, and he will get that core, 25%, 20%, 18% Liberal vote. So they will finish, I'm thinking, probably a solid third, and we'll see what happens with the Greens and the People's Party and Independent Bob O'Brien.
Do you think people are tuned out to the whole thing?
Yeah, I do. I think everyone I talk to, and I talk to my wife, I talk to my siblings down on the coast, I talk to you, I talk to some friends in Kamloops, and if you were just to bring up stuff and sit around, at the Redbeard having a pint, the election wouldn't come up in the top 5 or 6 topics. It would come up after sports, after the COVID, after all the controversy of the COVID, wildfires, the weather. It was a bad time to call an election, and Justin Trudeau is probably going to suffer for it.
Okay, anything else you want to add? I think that's all the questions.
No, I think just go to CamlooPsThisWeek.com, pick up your Wednesday print edition, read the other media in town too, and just get up on all the issues.
Don't read the other media.
Read all the media. Read every media outlet you can get to. Inform your view. Don't be in one of these, echo chambers like Marty does. Go to CFJC. Go to Radio NL. Go to CamlooPsThisWeek.com. Go to Infotel. Go to Castanet. Read them all. Just stay away from those crazy blogs.
Read us first and advertise with us first.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Okay, I think that's it for the show. We had to mix things up a bit. We wanted to get the surgeon on right away, so we flipped the segments around. That's going to be it for the show today. Final thoughts on the show in general?
Well, I thought that Dr. Scott Hughes and his message, the biggest thing from that is that he says he doesn't want this to be, and it's hard not to be just a flash in the pan and go to the next story, but that's the nature of news cycles. So if we keep checking in with him, and if the staff at RH who have concerns keep sending us their information and it pans out to be a story, we will keep that in the news. So I think that was a good segment for sure.
And that's definitely not a new shirt.
No, I wore this shoe. This is the third time on this show. What week are we? 21?
Third time, and I hope the last, because that's probably the worst shirt that you have.
I like this shirt. It's a Pete McMartin special, man. Says the guy wearing, what are you wearing? Oh,
actually, yeah, this is a no-name brand that my ex bought me. So,
yeah.
There we go. Okay, it's been a great show again. Thanks again to New Leaf Produce Market, Herman Hoti. Go down to New Leaf Produce Market. They're just over the bridge on the North Shore. And if you need any painting done, residential, commercial, my guy Brennan Krauser at Twin River Painting, he's the man you want to contact. If it's a music that you're into, it's Lee's music that you're into. Studio 2, state of the art. Mike and Bonnie behind the camera, hitting the buttons, making us look good. That's it for today. We'll see you last week.
Last.